Today we are doing function or not. So when we talk about functions, we can tell whether a mapping or a chart is going to be a function, whether or not each input has only one output. So when we look at the definition of a function is a specific type of relation in which every single input has only one output. Now, if it turns out that an input does have more than one output, then it is not a function. So looking over here, this says if any x value or any input has more than one output or any more than one y value, it is not a function. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at mappings, tables, charts, and sets of ordered pairs. And we want to determine whether it's a function or not. So looking at this first mapping over here, I see that we have all the x values on one side and all the y values on the other side. The domain is over here under x, and the range is over here under the y. Now, when we look at this, 1 is mapped to D, 2 is mapped to C, and 3 is also mapped to C. And since every single x value has only one y value, we can say that this is a function. So we're going to write yes, it is a function. Now looking over here at the next mapping, the first thing that I notice is that 2 has two different outputs, right? 2 is mapped to B, but 2 is also mapped to C. So since this input has more than one output, we have to say no, this is not a function. So that's how this works. If you find an input that has more than one output, then it's not a function. So looking over here at this chart, what I see is all the x values are on the left side and all the y values are on the right side. So the domain is on the left and the range is on the right. So looking at all these x values, I see that 1 gets mapped to 4, and I see that 2 gets mapped to 5, 3 is mapped to 2, and 4 is mapped to 3. And all x values have only one y value. So I can say that yes, this is a function. Now looking over here at this chart, I see that all the x values are over on the left side and all the y values are over on the right side. The first thing that I notice about this is that 2 is being mapped to 20, but 2 is also being mapped to 40. So that means that this input 2 has more than one output. So this qualifies it as not being a function. So I'm going to write no. This is not a function. So then looking down here, I have sets of ordered pairs. And we can see whether each x value has one y value or not. So looking at this list of ordered pairs, all the x values are going to be on the left side and all the y values are going to be on the right side. So this 5 is an x value, but this 7 is a y value. This 5 is an x value, this 9 is a y value. This 7 is an x value, and this -2 is a y value. So the x's are always on the left, and the y's are always on the right. Now, the first thing that I notice about this is that the 5 is being mapped to 7, but the 5 is also being mapped to 9. So since 5 has more than one output, I can say that this is not a function. So no, this is not a function. But looking over here, I notice that the x values are still on the left side, the y values are still always on the right side, and each x value is only mapped to one y value. So this turns out to be a function. So if any x value is mapped to more than one y value, then that is not a function. And I hope that helps.